Clemson fans think, oh, Sullivan, he's not going. Corbin's not going. You're going to have to go to a guy like Monty Lee, who doesn't have loyalty to Jack Leggett and who is in my opinion, a proven commodity for what he's
doing. And he wouldn't have to learn the recruiting territory. He's been here.
So now we got to find Charleston a coach. We found one for Clemson. We're going to have to find one for Charleston.
Georgia officially announced today the transfer of quarterback Jacob Park. So that's final. Stratford to stand out, leaving Georgia now. And the Braves lose today, blowing a lead. Mike will give us more on this coming up. They fall in 11 innings to the Padres 6-4 to fall 2 games back under 500. 2-run single in the 11th by Solarte for San Diego provided the winning runs there. There was a bench clearing incident in the game as well. Padres manager Bud Black was ejected. More on that coming up from Mike a little bit later on. Bottom of the 8th, Oakland leads Texas this afternoon 4-0. All right, let's jump to some phone calls. 800-956-7266. And we go to John, who is in Myrtle Beach, but he's from Cleveland. Okay, John, welcome into the program, listening to us down there on 100.3 FM. How are you?
Hey, fellas, good. How you doing?
Doing great, thank you.
Very, very excited for tonight's game. Let me give you a little spin on what's going on up north. Just down here vacationing, but the town is going nuts, as I'm sure you know, and you would think. Tonight is a huge game, though. I mean, even the national media is going a little off board with the 2-1 lead. But boy, if the Cavs can't pull it off tonight, Golden State gets back to the home court advantage and get quieter up there after tonight. But I made this prediction to my wife on the way down here. I said, no matter what happens, win or lose, if it's a close game, LeBron will lay down on the court at the end of the game. I mean, that guy has the entire Northeast Ohio on his back.
Yeah.
Not just the team.
Literally
but the whole
on his back, Graham.
Area.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
And he's doing it.
He's carrying everything. It's 1-on-5 out there. I've never seen an NBA Finals so one-sided.
He's going to light the river on fire if they win the whole thing.
You know, who's carrying a particular – I mean, we've seen Michael Jordan and we've seen Magic and Kobe and Larry Bird all be the stars of their respective teams, but they had other working parts with them.
Jordan carried – I mean, in 93, his output was 38.9.
Yeah, but he had Scotty and he had Cartwright. And he had other
Cartwright,
parts.
that was
he said Cartwright.
Cartwright.
That beautiful shot that Cartwright had. What a pretty shot.
Well, I mean, Cartwright was – he was an
but they
effective
use the whole
offensive guy and a
system.
tremendous rebounder.
They
and
slow the
great
game
shot
down
blocker.
because they don't want to run with
They
it.
had Craig Hodges there.
We'll be right back. Don't go away. All right, 800-956-7266 is our phone number here on Sports Talk. Email talkback, sportstalksc.com. Hey, you want a seat from Little John Coliseum?
Yeah.
Well, you can get your hands on them. They're going to sell some of the chairs. 500 sets of 2 seats are available for $20 per pair. And you can go online. I'd go to the Clemson University website, the sports website, to get more information. But each seat is a riser-mounted folding bottom chair ranging in width from 18 inches to 21 inches with purple orange paw fabric on the back and the bottom.
Mustard stains included.
I guess these are probably the seats that the media used to sit in before Radakovich punted us.
He's going to squeeze every last dime out of that.
I saw an artist rendering of the new. It's going to be nice. It's going to be nice. That's going to be totally different.
Very high
outside.
I think on top of the roof.
All right, quickly back to the phones we go. Ronnie over in North Augusta joining us tonight here on the program, listening to WKSX as always. Ronnie, how you doing?
Doing all tonight.
Man, we couldn't be finer unless we were Thursday night kicking it off in Charlotte September 3rd on a Thursday night.
Ronnie, I'm kind of down in the dumps tonight, man.
Yeah,
Dusty Rhodes died today.
I know. I saw that.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but Phil, for all the fun I've had listening to you over the years, I had something I was working out for you as a surprise, and then it fell through at the last minute. But you'd never believe this, but my nephew went through the golf program at Clemson. He works down at Kiowa Island, and we were setting up an exhibition match between you and Tiger. But he said Tiger got so crazy about how many strokes he wanted, but nobody would have shown up because there was no way you could beat him giving him that many strokes.
I know it's tough, isn't it? It would have.
So,
you know, I hate to handicap the guy in such a manner, you know. But keep trying. I'd love to go one-on-one with Tiger at Kiowa. Which course? Which course we talking about?
he doesn't work at he doesn't work at the Ocean Course.
Oh, that's all right.
I can promise you that. He bounces back and forth. He went through that golf program at Clemson a couple of years ago, and they kind of have these guys doing a little bit of every.
There's not a. Here's a flash for you.
Is there a bad course on Kiowa?
No.
I saw Cacique for the first time last week.
The bad thing is he's going to look back one day and regret this because where can he go unless he gets at the Augusta National? Not a whole lot he can do.
Yeah.
But Pro, what I'm waiting on, because to be fair, K-Max done got him an award now. Phil's won several, but I think they need to create a new award and give it to somebody that can actually do the real news and do sports the way that you do, and I'm going to start a campaign for that.
Pro's got awards. Haven't you won awards?
Yeah, but it was for something else.
Well, there you go.
That was when I was a PR guy.
When I was a senior in high school, I got the Woodman of the World highest history GPA award.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I had AA award in debate.
There you go. We all got. How about you, K-Mac? Anything academic? I didn't think so.
Award?
Yeah,
No, that would be a negative.
Be right back. All right, we're back, 800-956-7266. Our phone number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. Wide open for your phone calls on this Thursday night. Just a couple of other things to pass along to you. First of all, we're talking about Monty Lee and Clemson and that possibility and Monty's ties with South Carolina. We forget that Dan Radakovich was at South Carolina as well.
Gamecock, Brad Scott. They have, Chris Rumph is no longer there, but Scott still works with the football program.
Yeah, absolutely.
A very, very big part of their recruiting process there. So that shows you that money runs deeper than school colors.
And a Cougar fan informs us that should an opening occur, you could look for Scott Foxhall to be the front runner. He's at NC State.
Former Coug pitcher.
Was there, and he helped to build the program with John Pulowski, who's recently named the head coach at Western Kentucky. So anyway, the revolving door of coaching moves will start to happen once Clemson hires its guy. What else do I want to mention to you? ACC Day at Yankee Stadium. The ACC announced today, ACC Day at Yankee Stadium, August the 9th. Yankees and Blue Jays, all ACC schools, their alums, faculty, students, and fans can save up to 25% off select seats for that game at Yankee Stadium. Go to the Yankee website.
It'll be about as close as the media basketball.
Probably
games.
out in the bleachers.
They did this last year, too.
Oh, did they? Clemson has processed 53,952 season tickets, an overall renewal rate of over 92%. Through the close of business yesterday. The school record for season tickets, 55,453, set in 2007. So Tiger fans are gobbling them up and probably going to break a record there.
And that was Tommy Bowden's last year, was it not? That was.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. The second round of the Palmetto Amateur down in Aiken, Ben Schlottman from Advanced North Carolina shoots 64 after a 69. He's 7 under. Austin Langdale from Townville is 68. He's at 6 under. Billy Kennerly, who's a Clemson golfer from Alpharetta, Georgia, a 69. He's 5 under. Anthony Quayle from Gold Coast, Australia, 71 for him. He's 4 under. 3 under. Todd White of Spartanburg and David Kocher from Charlotte. Those are the golfers in the top 5 with the last 2 tied for 5th place.
That's the name of a British actor.
David
No, Anthony Quayle.
Oh, Anthony Quayle. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Pro. And, All-Americans in golf announced today. USC's Will Stark, Matt Neesmith been named Golf Week All-American. Stark, 2nd team. Neesmith, 3rd team. And from the women's side, USC's Justine Dreer and Caitlin Danbaugh. They earned All-American honors as well from Golf Week. Dreer, 1st team, and Danbaugh, honorable mention. Congratulations to those kids as well. All right, 800-956-7266 is the phone number. Mike Morgan Braves report coming up in a little bit. Let's jump back to the phone calls. Wide open for your calls tonight here on Sports Talk. It's a Thirsty Thursday, seeking your input. We're thirsting for your thoughts, your comments. We give you ours throughout the week. It's your chance tonight to jump on board as we go to North Augusta to talk to Billy. Once again, WKSX, carrying a load for us down in that part of the state. Hello, Billy, and welcome into Sports Talk.
How's it going? Couple points. I haven't always been a big LeBron fan, but my goodness, what he's doing right now with these guys is just remarkable. If he's able to win a championship with these guys, can you imagine what that's going to do for his legacy? I mean, these guys. I mean, especially you got an Australian guy. I mean, I don't even know if he could even make the team for the Warriors.
It's 1-on-5. It's 1-on-5 out there. I mean, the whole offensive, and David Blatt has done, I guess, a fine job as a coach, but let me get to my butt. My butt is, you can tell on the sideline who's running LeBron might go down as the first coach manager since Bill Russell, or player coach since Bill Russell, to win an NBA championship.
I'll say this though: what's happened down and Irving, it's forced them to really focus on their defense. And that's what Blatt's known for, those really stingy defenses. And LeBron's not out there playing defense all by himself. And they are playing suffocating defense, forcing it to be a half-court game. And if they had a healthy Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, it'd be a little more loosey-goosey. They'd be taking a lot more shots, and that would probably favor Golden State.
Yeah.
So the point has been made that, you know what, not that it's good. I'm sure LeBron would rather have Kyrie Irving out there and would rather have Kevin Love out there too, but it's forced them to really hunker down, focus on playing defense. Guys know their role. Those other guys know that it's LeBron's team, but on the other end, they're really selling out on the defensive end, and it's making life very difficult for Golden State.
Well, this should be fun to watch tonight. I mean, you got a desperate Warriors team against LeBron. There's no way LeBron wants to give up home field advantage. So
I think Golden State wins, though. I think Golden State wins it tonight.
I think the key tonight actually is a guy who started for Golden State, but acquiesced his position because they wanted to get younger blood in the front court, and that's David Lee. David Lee was a tremendous player for the Knicks, and then went out to Golden State and started out there. But then when they got the young guys in there, they say, well, can you come off the bench? But he's the only guy that's playing physical. When you get in the championship game, teams that may you out talent, they're going to maul and kind of massage people in there. And you got to be able to play rough. You know, Golden State has wanted to play pretty boy ball, and that does not work in the championship round. You got to be able to get down and dirty. And I think he kind of taught them a lesson in that fourth quarter when he scored, I think, 13 points.
All right. Thank you very much for your phone call. We appreciate
also,
it. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Yes.
Now, I know people don't watch a lot of West Coast ball, but, you know, people talk about Dellavedova as he's a throw-in. But, look, you remember when St. Mary's was challenging Gonzaga in the West Coast Athletic Conference?
I don't really remember that.
Well, a lot of that was because they had to play against this guy. Mm-hmm. This guy carried St. Mary's to the heights that they had, finishing second only to Gonzaga. So, you know, he's not any pushover by any means.
He's a tough dude.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great shot he threw up there the other night where he was going through the lane off balance. He threw it up, went to the floor, ball goes in. Great play. And his hustle, I'll give him a lot of credit, man. He is busting it out there. This has been a good series in that both teams are selling out. Loose balls are attracting bodies from all different angles. And it's rough and tumble out there. And it's going to continue that way as, you know, especially, you know, if Golden State's able to win this thing tonight and even it up, it's going to be a war. Best 2 out of 3 down the stretch. It'll be an absolute war. 800-956-7266. Lines have now opened up. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Talking about the NBA draft. Of course, it's the day after the conclusion, not the NBA draft, the NBA finals. It's the day after the conclusion of the baseball draft, so things have kind of settled down there a little bit. Haven't heard of any players up and signing today, you know, jumping on the opportunity to cash in quickly on offers. So I'm sure there's some negotiations taking place, and some guys are doing some deep thinking about, do I accept this offer? Do I come back to school? You know, in particular, I guess in terms of South Carolina and Clemson, the veteran players hanging out there, Max Schrock, probably the number one guy who was drafted in a position where there would be some consideration about him coming back, though Chad Holbrook did tell us last night he believes he's going to sign. He'll get more money than the 13th round pick would get.
He seemed pretty certain, too. It wasn't even an on-the-fence situation.
But as far as Clemson goes, I mean, all the guys that were drafted among their veterans, it appears as if they're going to be hitting the road, all the pitchers and the position players as well. So we'll see what happens over the next few days. We got a Braves report coming up here in just a moment. More of your phone calls and recruiting, too. Don't go away. No. Time for our Braves report with Mike Morgan, brought to you by Mattress by Appointment. Real simple. You call, you save 50 to 80% on premium mattress sets, and that number, 803-816-0577. Let me give you that number again, 803-816-0577. Also by Play It Again Sports off Ballard Parkway in Columbia, where you will pay less, but you'll get more. And by Founders Federal Credit Union, helping South Carolinians attain their financial goals. We welcome in Mike Morgan. And the goal of the Braves, no doubt, is to avoid going to their bullpen whenever possible. Couldn't avoid it today, and same sad story. I tell you what, they're kind of in a funk in the bullpen right now.
Yeah, they are. I think they need to call Mattress by Appointment, get some better sleep. Obviously, that's the problem.
Yeah.
You know, they're tossing and turning all night. Their back's a little jacked up, and clearly they're not very effective once they go out there. Give Jim Bunn a call today, for crying out loud. They're in bad shape. It's one of those things where a couple of days ago you had Shelby Miller start, and he's rolling along much like Julio Teheran was through 7 innings, and Freddie Gonzalez pulls him. He gets near 100 pitches, which nowadays might as well be 300 because guys don't like to hit that century mark, and goes to the bullpen, which ordinarily is a pretty sound move, again, in today's day and age. And the bullpen, of course, blows up. They lose in 11 innings, and everybody says, well, Freddie should have never pulled him. Today, Julio Teheran, same thing, very effective through 7 innings, pitch count about 96 when the 8th inning commenced. And he decides, you know what, I don't trust the bullpen. I'm going to keep Teheran out there, try to milk one more inning out of him. Teheran promptly loads the bases with nobody out. Now you got to go to the bullpen. And as if that bullpen isn't bad enough, when you put him in a precarious spot like that, you almost knew what was going to happen. When you were watching it, it was like an avalanche. You saw the first snowball go down, and you were waiting for the rest to come down the mountain and everything to collapse. And that's what happened. It's another painful way to lose a game. At some point, you have to do something if you're Atlanta to help Freddie Gonzalez and company out, because it's not going to get any better. It's like Carrot Top's comedy act. It's the same act, and it doesn't get any funnier. It just gets worse and worse, and that's pretty much where the Braves go.
Corn's a big Carrot Top fan, Mike. So you
Wow.
probably need to
really.
don't say anything about Carrot Top or Pauly Shore, or Cornblute's going to be ready to fight.
Yeah, Pauly Shore, she is hilarious.
Yes. Yeah.
She's changed too?
That equalizing run on the catcher interference with Betancourt. I saw some Braves Twitter today where people are questioning if Betancourt should be playing over Przinsky at this point.
Well, it's funny about that. First of all, it was a good call. I know, and anytime that happens and you're kind of victimized by it, your initial reaction as a fan is to go, wait a minute, I don't see that very often. That must be a bad call. It's absolutely the right call. He lunged out his catcher's mitt and hits the swinging bat for the Padres. I forget who the hitter was at the time, but and so thus automatically that situation, it was really an easy call. And right before that, Betancourt had a pass ball on a pitch that should have been handled, and that put the Braves in a worse spot. Betancourt is there because of his defense. This is the young man whose track to the big leagues has been based on the fact he's a great defensive catcher. He still has a ways to go with the bat, and he made 2 critical plays to help the Braves lose the game today with poor defense. So I can understand where the criticism would come from. You can't play Przinsky every game, so there really is not a plan B right now. Gerald Laird is not on the team anymore, but Betancourt just had a really bad day at the office at a really bad time in the game.
Well, you can just say it right now, because the floundering that's going on at the top of the division, the Braves had a half-decent bullpen, they'd be in first place.
I know, that's a sad commentary, but you're absolutely right, Pro. Really, what the NL East resembles what the NFC South was last year in football. Remember, the Panthers won the division with a 7-8-1 record. That shouldn't be the case. Washington should be a heck of a lot better than they are, and I still think they're the class of the division. I don't even think it's close, but you're right. From a standings standpoint, everybody's just kind of bunched up there, and that the Braves could play the what-if game about 10 times this year. I mean, their bullpen has been that bad, where they literally could take 10 games and just turn them over, losses into wins. But again, they have nobody to blame but themselves. I mean, the personnel is what it is. You're rolling out guys. They rolled 5 guys out there in the 8th inning. And I got to tell you, watching the game, I didn't feel confident in any of them, not one. So it still is a big problem for the team.
Man, salt in the wound. Craig Kimbrell got his 15th save today for the Padres, though his ERA is 3.91. I mean, he hasn't been the dominator from that standpoint as he was with the Braves, but 15 saves are 15 saves. Thank you, Mike. We do appreciate it very much, and we'll be back with recruiting on this Thursday night. All right, to the recruiting report for tonight. Offensive lineman Will Putnam of Harrisburg, North Carolina, was offered by USC in late May. He immediately put the Gamecocks at the top of his list with an eye towards a possible commitment at the Showcase Camp Saturday. With that event just 2 days away, nothing has changed between Putnam and the Gamecocks. And he said if nothing new pops, meaning new major offers, he said a commitment is likely. Loves the idea of playing at South Carolina for Sean Elliott and in the SEC. So if everything goes well Saturday, his mom's coming in with him. No other big offers come in. I think you can expect him to commit. His other offers are Connecticut, Ohio, Charlotte, Gardner-Webb, Elon, Coastal, and Charleston Southern. Offensive lineman Chandler Reeves, 6'6", 260, Medina, Georgia, was at Clemson's camp yesterday, left with an offer. Now it's pretty much between Georgia Tech and Clemson for him. He's coming back to Clemson with his parents either tomorrow or Saturday for a closer look for them. And on Monday, he's going to Georgia Tech with his parents to do the same thing. He said it's really 50-50 between the two schools right now. He also has to think about, does he want to block in the option offense, the triple option, or in the spread? He says, both are really good offenses. He said in the triple option, it's good because you get to run a lot, which he said if you ask most offensive linemen, that's what they like to do. However, his high school runs Clemson's offense. So he said it'd be just a matter of going from the high school level to the college level of his offense if he was to go to Clemson. He also has offers from Maryland, Syracuse, Cal, Cincinnati, South Florida, Indiana, and East Carolina. But really, it's between Clemson and Georgia Tech for him at this point. Linebacker Kenneth Ruff of Fort Lauderdale will not make it to USC's camp Saturday. However, USC remains his leader. He said this from the Florida State camp that he's attending the end of this week. And he says that the Gamecocks have a huge advantage, and they're definitely the leader. As for official visits this fall, he's looking at USC, of course, NC State, possibly Alabama, and Mississippi State. He said Illinois is his newest offer. Clemson offered 2018 athletes Deion Kendrick of South Point and 2018 athlete Kieran Joyner of Fort Dorchester and 2018 offensive lineman Jamari Salver of Atlanta, and also 2018 quarterback Seth Aquanaby. Seth Aquanaby of Alexandria, Virginia, will be at Clemson's camp coming up. Also from Carrollton, Georgia, 2016 defensive end Michael Boykin and his teammate 2018 Josh Walker will be there. And wide receiver James Robinson of Lakeland, Florida, coming to Clemson's camp. Defensive back Kyle Myers of New Orleans, offered today by Florida State. He's also a Clemson target. USC offered 2017 defensive lineman Dalvin Wade Perry of Sparta, New Jersey, and 2017 offensive lineman Noah DeHaan of Hightstown, New Jersey. Top of the hour break. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
All right, welcome back into Sports Talk here on South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia, Main Street. Sports Talk, your Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina, 800-956-7266. It's a thirsty Thursday, as we're thirsty for your input. Quench our thirst with your thoughts, your comments, your opinions, your questions, your compliments, and if possible, if you can come up with one, a criticism. We're not afraid to take on criticism here on Sports Talk. 800-956-7266. Though I don't know what you could possibly criticize.
Did you have lunch and 5 points today or something and get the idea of Thirsty Thursday? I think that's
I just came up with
by
that.
About every
No, it's not.
watering hole in America on Thursday.
The things I've come up with lately, I came up with March Madness.
Oh, that's a good one.
Thirsty Thursday.
Very good.
Yeah. Now, this one really is mine. Baseball Mayhem. Nobody has used that, and that's mine. I claim that one as my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll come up with some others. Give me some time. Another recruiting note. We talked about Kyle Myers, the defensive back from New Orleans, who Clemson had offered this week at camp. Then he goes down to Florida State and gets offered. He just committed to Florida State about 5 minutes ago. So he comes off the Clemson board. Of course, you never know with these guys.
Clemson knows who the enemy is now.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. I always hesitate to take a guy off the board. This guy sounds pretty serious about Florida State. He put out a statement thanking everybody and da-da-da-da, but he's going to be with the Seminoles. So players don't usually decommit from Florida State once they make that commit, but they tend to stick with them. Occasionally you'll find one to change his mind, but not often. So Kyle Myers commits to Florida State.
You wouldn't
today.
put Dexter Wideman in that category?
Yeah, he was one.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. Got another one in mind?
No,
Come on, bro.
really.
Keep trying to stump me. Keep coming.
No,
Bring another one. Throw another hard one in there.
I just asked. It was right there in front of you.
That wasn't.
It's a
You're right.
softball.
That was he did commit to Florida State originally, but that was before the family started pulling him towards Carolina and everything else, and he came to his senses. And you know what? He's probably going to have a chance for a lot of playing time in the middle of that Gamecock defensive line.
Just as long as he goes to class.
As long as he goes to class. I'm sure he's learned his lesson on that. All right, 800-956-7266. Our email, talkback@sportstalksc.com, and our Twitter address. If you haven't signed up to follow us on Twitter, I don't know what you're waiting on, because you get on our Twitter feed, you get the best of both worlds. You get me providing unparalleled knowledge and insight,
Mostly about teenage boys.
and you get K-Mac providing, well, more
Mostly
the juvenile,
stuff about not teenage boys.
more the juvenile side of Twitter is where you'll get that. We'll be back in a moment. All right, we're back, 800-956-7266. Keeping an eye on recruiting. Another update for you. We mentioned Will Putnam, the offensive lineman from Harrisburg, North Carolina. He went to Virginia Tech today and was offered by Virginia Tech. So I'll have to check with him to see how that affects his thinking. He's going to Vanderbilt tomorrow and South Carolina on Saturday. So as we told you in our report earlier, things were trending towards him committing to the Gamecocks Saturday, barring any other major offers coming in. But now he's picked up Virginia Tech. He's likely to pick up, I would think if he's going to Vandy tomorrow, there must be a good opportunity for him to pick up a Vanderbilt offer as well. That might delay his decision unless he's just blown away by South Carolina on Saturday. He's not been to South Carolina for a recruiting visit. They offered him, Sean Elliott did, after going up there for a visit to the school. So we'll check with him and see how this impacts his thinking. All right, 800-956-7266. Yeah, it's a big weekend for South Carolina recruiting. It's their showcase camp. They moved it up this year. They used to hold that in July, and they moved it up this year in hopes of attracting a better quality, a higher grade of athlete, higher grade of prospect. And they're going to have a pretty good crowd coming in. They'll work them out at Williams-Brice Stadium on Saturday night for about an hour, and then they're going to break them up and I guess try and see who wants to commit, see who they might get a commitment from. I would say keep an eye on Will Putnam. I would say keep an eye on Chris Smith, the defensive back from South Point, who's coming in, who's been favoring South Carolina pretty strongly. Those are the two, I think, right now that would stand to be a good possibility for South Carolina to get a commitment on Saturday. Clemson will have its second Dabo Swinney camp of the week beginning on Friday. And they'll have another select group of top prospects in for that as well. Right now, the only not really thinking of any one player coming into Clemson this time that would be on commitment watch. Typically Clemson will get 2 or 3 commitments coming out of their spring camp sessions. But out of session number 1, they were hoping to get this defensive back who committed today to Florida State. So that's a bit of a setback for them there. I would also keep an eye out on Thomas Jones at Lawrence coming into South Carolina Saturday, the safety. It's possible he could do something as well. So there's 2 or 3 guys coming into South Carolina for their showcase camp on Saturday who could fall into the Gamecock camp. It's been a while since either one has picked up a commitment, so we'll see if some things pick up this weekend. 800-956-7266 is the phone number. K-Mac on Twitter, what have people been discussing the most here in the last day or so?
There's some breaking news coming out of Charleston now with Andrew Miller, the Post and Courier, reporting that tomorrow Monty Lee will officially interview with Clemson. And there's a report earlier, actually, we've confirmed it as well. There have been talks. I guess we're getting into semantics on what is an interview. To me, even if it's over the phone, if you're talking to officials about a job directly, that's an interview. So, but this will be the first official interview for Monty Lee. So maybe an in-person interview that he's going to have. I don't know if the stuff earlier this week was in person or over the phone, but Monty Lee is going to
I think it was interview. In person. The information I've got was met with. That tells me in person.
Where's the headline? So-and-so has received permission to talk.
Well, I actually sent an email and corresponded with the athletic director at the College of Charleston earlier this week, Joe Hull, and I asked him if Clemson had asked for permission to talk to Monty Lee. And his response was, ask Clemson.
And that's, you could read into that as, yeah.
That's what he said. He said, ask Clemson. Yeah. He said, it's their search.
Because if they hadn't, he probably would have said no.
Yeah.
If they had, he might say, I'm not going to tell you. I don't want to let that cat out of the bag.
I think if an athletic director gets the phone call seeking permission, he's losing his guy.
Right.
Because that's when it's done in advance. I'm sure Monty has an agent. And I'm sure that things are happening behind the scenes to get a deal done. And once the deal is done with whoever the candidate is, then the call will go to the athletic director. And he knows that these guys all know how the game is played. They understand how it's done.
It just makes too much sense for it to be Monty Lee. And really,
I mean, not to be Monty Lee.
Yeah, did I say not for it to? Yeah, to not be Monty Lee.
Right.
Yeah. Going back to before this season, we all knew Jack Leggett was on the hot seat.
Mm-hmm.
This link was already being made where Monty Lee was the guy, and you know, we know that Randy Mazey's interviewed. There might be one or two. There probably is one or two other guys that have talked to Radakovich at this point, but I haven't heard any name to me that I would want more than Monty Lee, a realistic name that I want more than Monty Lee, because Joe Torre's not going to coach at Clemson.
Here's the question. If you're Monty Lee or his agent, do you, when you're negotiating, do you say, look, you know, I'd love to coach in South Carolina. I know the recruiting territory here. And I just ask, one favor I would like from you, sir, is if we discuss anything that, you know, improve the program or whatever, and some steps, don't go to the press and present what we discussed.
Oh, you're the coach saying that to the AD?
I mean, to ask him, I said, if I take
Well,
this
he's
job,
not going to try to chop his new guy off at the knees. Like, and let's face it, when that press release came out, outlined the four
right
changes,
exactly.
You're chopping your coach off. You're trying to send a message that, you know, the die was cast then. And that's really water under the bridge at this point. Now it's the next chapter for Clemson, and they have to get a home run hire. And I think Monty Lee would be a home run hire. Is he going to make the splash nationally that a Kevin O'Sullivan would have made? No, but I think he can be just as effective at Clemson.
Well, here's the other thing.
He's got a great track record,
you know,
great recruiter.
You have to think about this too. Look what Clemson is losing off of this year's team from the draft. They're losing most of their pitching. They're losing Duggar. They're losing Krieger. They're losing well, is Eli White? What did Bradley say last night?
He said he'll be back. Kerner's gone. They lost Raleigh already.
Okie will be back. White will be back. First baseman will be back.
Roman will be
back. Spot. Yeah, Roman will be back. Wilson will be back at third. So there's some parts coming back. How much of the recruiting class will they lose? Because it's a good recruiting class.
And if I'm Monty Lee, I would keep Bradley LaCroix on that staff. You know, we were talking about this.
But you know he's going to be loyal to his own staff first.
Well, yeah.
He's not going to cut those guys loose.
But some of those guys might want, you know, to go after, you know, and I'm not familiar with everybody on his staff there at Charleston, but at the same time, you're loyal to your staff, but you have a guy here that is a proven recruiter, one of the best recruiters in college baseball. That's been proven. And Clemson's recruiting has not been a major issue to me. Now, maybe there's some inside baseball guys that'll tell you differently, but I look at those recruiting rankings every year, and I've seen Bradley LaCroix named by national baseball publications as the top recruiter in college baseball at least once or twice. I would think very seriously about keeping him on. And you combine Monty Lee, who is also a very good recruiter, with Bradley LaCroix, that could be a pretty imposing duo at Clemson in terms of bringing in big time talent. But they're still dealing with the same scholarship limitations as everybody else. That's what you're running into now at Clemson, at South Carolina, everywhere else. You only have so many scholarships, and baseball is the most inexact science when it comes to these guys. That's why there are 30 rounds in the major league draft. Corn, I know you didn't 40. Get picked again.
40.
Yeah, 40 rounds in the major league draft. There used to be 60 something. Yeah, they're countless. So
what?
Huh?
What?
Yeah, 1,250. I was like 12, 15 picks. Yeah, there are, because they have to take flyers on a bunch of guys, and you used to be able to do that in college baseball. I'll give you $200 to buy lunch for the semester. Now the NCAA said, nope, you got to give 25%. So it's a challenge.
All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back and take more of your phone calls. 800-956-7266, the number here on Sports Talk. All right, up to Greenville we go for our next call here on Sports Talk, listening to us on 1440 WGVL. He is the self-proclaimed Black Helicopter. Hello, Black Helicopter.
Hawk down.
Hello, guys. How's everybody tonight?
Where's the moniker Black Helicopter come from?
Isn't that something about some kind of takeover of the?
No, I'm just hovering over everybody.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I
He
got
use a drone for that now.
I thought it was some kind of
just wanted to
conspiracy
ask,
theory.
I just want to ask, when is the last? I guess Phil, you may have some records on this, or maybe all you guys do. I don't know. But when's the last time that you have ever heard of a college football player or a college basketball player flunking out of school, especially when after the 2 sessions of summer school? Because I can remember that used to be a huge, huge issue with players. And you used to always sit there, if you're a fan of Clemson or South Carolina, Georgia, whoever, keeping your fingers crossed. And most everybody knew who they were. And just waiting to see. So,
well, I mean,
Bill, do you know anything about that?
The kid at South Carolina just a couple years ago that transferred in from Southern. No, he transferred in from Southern Miss and played at the beginning of the year and he flunked out and didn't get to play the second semester. And he was from the Low Country.
Oh, you mean the basketball player?
Yeah, basketball player.
He was from Latta.
Yeah, he flunked out. What was his?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but it used to be.
Well, here's the thing.
Here's
the thing.
They don't let them do that.
They are doing. Yeah, they apparently are doing such a great job of educating these guys. No, I say that in all sincerity. Look, South Carolina and Clemson, their football GPAs are hovering around 3.0. As
let me
team.
say this.
So they are. Look, they've got tutors out there.
They do. They get to pick.
They've got. They do get them, educated, and they do get them in a position to get their degree and get their
player.
And get their GPAs to the point where they stay.
Lachey Page.
Yeah, where they stay on track to graduate.
Okay, well, let me ask you this: what was that school? Who was it? Up in North Carolina. That was what were they doing?
That school in
that school in Chapel.
That school in Chapel Dump. I mean, the school in Chapel Dump.
Yeah, I don't like them either, but I believe they've been doing this for how long? How long have they been putting those players through?
Well, the original reports went back like 15, 20 years now. The NCAA is not going back that far.
Well, let me ask you
their
this.
accusations.
They're on probation now. They're about to be on double secret probation.
They're on probation, but not for that end.
Well, they are.
Prior to that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Well, no, hang on. What K-Max referring to? Hang on.
They're on academic probation now.
K-Max referring to something that came out today.
The accreditation.
Right. They put them on. All right, hang on a second.
Your North Carolina degree for you Tar Heel alums, it got a little more worthless today.
And part of that is the academic fraud that's got him on probation. That's part of the Sachs report.
Absolutely. All right, hang on, and we'll come back and let you finish your comments, and we'll take more calls if you'd like to join us. Thirsty Thursday, we're thirsty for your knowledge here on Sports Talk. All right, a little bit more on Monty Lee and Clemson. The Post and Courier a little while ago reported that Monty Lee is going to have a second visit with Clemson officials, and now the Clemson Insider has added more information to that story.
Yeah, that this is the second time they've met, and again, I would call this a second interview. And,
Sure.
and we've confirmed that they interviewed earlier this week, and now TCI is reporting that Lee met with Clemson this week in Charleston on Tuesday, which makes sense. You go down to Charleston, you head down to the market, grab some chicken wings and a couple of beers and talk about the job. And now coming back up to Clemson, visit the facilities, the campus, whatever. I mean, it's moving forward. So anyway, this is the second meeting or interview, however you want to call it.
Right.
I mean, we're getting into a semantic argument in some of these outlets on what happened when, but this isn't the first time that he met with Clemson. So it's not really his first interview. If they met in Charleston, I would call that an interview.
Absolutely. All right. Back to the phone calls we go, and Black Helicopter still hovering above us here on Sports Talk. Okay, sir, back at you. What else on your mind?
The only thing I wanted to say is, and K-Mac, you're the first person that remembered. You said one, but I'm telling you, it used to be a ton of them.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Oh yeah. I mean, it was pretty regular.
I mean,
you come out of summer school to begin practice, and it's you had to wait to find out for the grades to be posted and who might not make it. But again, these guys are in school almost 12 months out of the year now. They take very little time off. They go to first session summer school, second session summer school. They have tutors everywhere. They've got the beautiful facilities
too.
Yeah, and they don't always flunk out of school, but I mean, a lot of guys are ineligible for bowl games because the semester ends in December. Basketball,
I've never seen that.
It happens. It happens a lot. I mean, and you see coaches.
You know it doesn't. Listen, let me ask you this.
It does happen. I mean, it absolutely does happen.
No, it does.
I'm not arguing.
You're wrong.
Okay, you're wrong.
Let me ask you one other question.
But it does happen.
Do you think there's anything going on in all the colleges across the nation that happened up at North Carolina about what they were doing academically? That's all I want to know.
So you're wondering if there's cross the board cheating, going on. Not at the extent that they had at North Carolina, from what we're hearing.
Well,
I mean, not to the point where they are.
That? Why would you say not?
I have no reason to believe that other schools are making up.
Okay. Here you go. Let me. Darren Carrington, Oregon Ducks, star wide receiver, ineligible for the national championship game. Grades keep 3 Texas players out of bowl games. 2 East Carolina defensive starters ruled ineligible in bowl games. That's a quick Google search. I mean, don't. Okay.
I will tell you this. Do I think there's subterfuge going on at other schools? Absolutely. But I will tell you this. I have never seen.
What do you mean by subterfuge?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Let me grab a dictionary.
So you think it's outright cheating?
No, I think
you think there's grade fixing going on in those schools to keep players eligible?
I think it happens. Mm-hmm. I think it happens. It happens.
The extent at North Carolina.
It happens at the high school level. Let me finish. But I will say this: I have never seen it happen at a school that brags about its academic integrity.
I'm not going to paint every school with the same brush that we have at North Carolina.
Well,
that's a pretty extreme case.
I didn't say that.
I called in you guys, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago or something. I said something to you about what was reported about Clemson letting players in that didn't meet the standards of being illiterate, and y'all brushed it off like it wasn't anything. And that's in print. I've seen it. I've seen the scores, don't know the players. So if that's going on there,
I mean,
where else would it be going on?
Are you talking about as far as freshman eligibility or what?
I'm talking about getting in school. You got to get in school.
Yeah,
I guess.
So what are you?
And they listed it from 2000. Listen, I've already called in and told y'all about this. You blew it away, Phil.
I'm trying to get my hands around what you're saying.
All right, here's what I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
There was a report when all this stuff was going on at North Carolina. There was a report that was sent out by CNN. You know who CNN is?
Uh-huh.
Now, I'm not real super duper about CNN, but they sent it out. They sent it to right at 40 schools. Every school pretty much in the Southeastern Conference. And every school.
What did they say?
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
And what they said was they wanted to know if there was if players were being given special treatment in order to play for the big money. What we're talking about is the money that the schools made.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked a series of questions, and and Clemson responded. Now, they wanted to know between the years 2007 through 2012. That's 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole thing about this was that whoever sent that response back ought to be fired. It had to come from the academic side of the school.
So you're saying they queried?
Wait a minute, let me finish. What they did is they listed the scores in football, boys and girls basketball, and it seems like to me it's another sport, but I think that was on two, for those 5 years. And they had 400 was the number that they were asking about, which is the written compensation and the math part.
Uh-huh.
That they say that if you scored 400, okay, listen to me now. If you scored 400 or less, you were considered illiterate. In other words, to be illiterate, you had to score at least 400. And my memory serves, I'm not looking at it, so my memory serves me, there was probably 35, 40 of Clemson's athletes between 207 and 212 that scored below 400.
And you're saying this is in that CNN report?
Sent one to South Carolina.
I'm looking at the report now. Yeah, and in football,
what does it say?
It says in football, 34 out of 199 scored below the threshold. Basketball, 2 out of 30 below the threshold. Women's basketball, 7 of 26 in total. That's 15.2%. CNN also compared the average student athlete score to the average student admitted to the university. According to Clemson, the average SAT verbal score for incoming freshmen in 2012 was 607. The CNN data shows the average SAT verbal of basketball players admitted in 2007 and 2012 was 455. The average SAT verbal for football players in that same period was 477. The university declined to respond to additional questions. That's from the CNN report.
Punch on the tiger paw, and it'll break down those years, 207 all the way down to 212.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't list their names, but you can see the actual individual scores. And you can see the ones that were under that 400, which is considered the benchmark.
Well, for argument purposes, what was South Carolina?
I don't see.
Now, South Carolina didn't respond. That's what I was saying.
Yes. But, and here's the other thing, though. I mean, it is not uncommon. Do you think everybody that's playing basketball at Duke has the same SAT score as the guy that went in for biochemistry?
No. I agree. I don't disagree with what you're saying, K-Mac. But what I'm saying is, I thought there were some kind of requirements to get in college. And if I was a Clemson graduate and had a degree from Clemson, I'd be embarrassed that they put something like that
requirements for athletes don't necessarily mesh up with the requirements for the regular student.
Also, I will say this:
anywhere
there are also special requirements for people with exceptional talents, i.e., musically, artistically. They also get a break, especially musical prodigies.
Or science. Some of these people that come from foreign countries that don't speak English that aren't going to pass the verbal part of the SAT, but they're chemistry whizzes, they get in, okay, when Kornblut wouldn't, because they're going to go into their lab and do extensive research and put the school on the map. The same with these football and basketball players. They have to meet minimum NCAA requirements. They all have to go through the clearinghouse and make core levels, but sometimes they're not going to be as high as a general student body. And that, to me, isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yet, you go back and look at some of the same data, the colleges are graduating their student athletes at a higher rate than the regular student body. Be right back.
I mean, it's just crazy.
All right, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-7266. Just to go back to what Black Helicopter was taking us back to, pulling us back to a report that came out in what, 2007?
No, 2014.
Oh, it came out in 2014.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I was going back looking at the data from 2007 through 2012. Yeah, the bottom line is the way I see it, yes, you have athletes going to major college who are marginal at best from the academic standpoint. They could be short going into their senior year of what they need in terms of the GPA, core courses, SAT, ACT, and it's crammed on them to get the work done. They get special tutors. It's all about meeting those NCAA minimums, and that's what they strive to do in many cases when they're in that boat. And from a college standpoint, you know, a Clemson standpoint, a USC standpoint, you know, for your sports, you're not out there recruiting geniuses. I mean, if you happen to find one who's a good student who can do the academic work with no problem and get you a 4.0 and be an academic All-American, that's all the better, as long as he can hit the baseball out of the park and run a 4.4 and dunk a basketball. My point is, all they strive to do is get them into school. And then once they get here, and you asked the question about them flunking out, you know, it really is almost impossible to flunk out. You have to really not want to get your academics to flunk out today with the tutorial help you get, the special buildings that you go to that are reserved just for the student athletes, all the other amenities you get as an athlete to help you. Your classes are set up for you. Now, I know it's tough. Don't get me wrong. It's not a country club for these guys. You know, they're working long hours on their sport. They're up early, especially football. Let's just say, well, all of them. Let's use football. They're up early. They have a hard, long day of practice, the pressure of being a college football player, and you have your academics on top of that.
And you might get your bell rung in practice one day.
Or injured when you have rehab. And I'll say this, Clemson and South Carolina and a lot of schools, there is that NCAA minimum, but South Carolina and Clemson have both denied guys that qualified with the minimum, and the admissions board said, you know what, we don't like what we're seeing here. We don't think he can make it through our university. And the other part of it is, yeah, these guys that come in maybe a little lower, they wouldn't get that opportunity if it wasn't for football or basketball. And that's one of the great things about intercollegiate athletics. They're not paying these guys. It gives them an opportunity that they might not have had otherwise. They get through it. They become better students. They leave the school with the degree smarter and better equipped to handle life. And that's what it's, at the end of the day, it's an idealistic thing to say. That is what it's all about.
And I will say this. When people say, how does it affect academics? Look at the big picture. When you have a winning athletic team, and that's what people look at, guess what? Your applications go up. When your applications go up, the funnel is filled, and you start to, those marginal regular students you would have gotten, you pull them from the bottom of the pile, and you're actually increasing the GPA because you got more people in the funnel. You know, it works that way. It is the best recruiting tool for regular students is a winning athletic program. And just watch teams that's winning games, and then you talk to their registrar's office, their admittance office, and see how many applications
let's face it,
are coming in.
How many people would know Gonzaga if it weren't for their basketball team? How many people would know Butler? You know, their basketball program, the programs at those two schools put the school on the national map. So there, and you're right, K-Mac, there's a very positive side to taking students from high school who are tremendous athletes and giving them a chance in college to prove themselves both on the athletic field and in the classroom. Now, there are those people who say, well, these folks are taking up spots that should be going to real students. But we all know that when it comes to today's college and it comes to the athletic side of thing, they have to cater to the athletic side because the athletic side brings in so much money and so much exposure. Look, Duke didn't become super great in basketball without there being some adjustments made to their academics for athletes.
And not only that, when those guys go out in the field in football, I want people who think that athletes don't think sit in on the classroom and they put a play on the board and ask you where's everybody supposed to be. Don't tell me those guys can't absorb knowledge because you sit in there and look at that same playbook. What is this? I don't understand this.
Yeah. All right, former Clemson star Kyle Parker has been demoted back to AAA by the Rockies. That happened this afternoon. He was just called up 2 days ago. Got a hit the other night, but they made some other moves on their roster, and to make room, they demoted him back to Albuquerque. That's what happens when you have – there's only X number of times they can bring you up and send you back down, and as long as you have options, and he's a guy that obviously still has options, his team's going to –
and they
treat him
probably
that way.
want him to play every day, and he'll get a better chance to play every day. AAA.
By the way, talking with or chatting here with Will Putnam, exchanging text messages with him after he gets the offer from Virginia Tech, and he tells me that the offer opens up another opportunity, and I'll really have to step back and look at both schools after my South Carolina visit. So might not be such an automatic thing for him now, because he said unless something else popped, it was going to be South Carolina, but now he has an option, and he may get another one tomorrow when he goes to Vanderbilt. All right, back to the phones we go in our final couple of minutes, down to Andrews, and we welcome David into Sports Talk, listening to us where, out of Charleston, David?
That's correct, Phil.
Great. Good to have you with us.
Hey, this is for K-Mac, and I don't always agree with everything K-Mac says, but I would like to nominate him as a national spokesman for the pay against players for his comment earlier about marginal players getting the chance to get an education. Haven't heard it put that way in all this talk that I've heard about the, plans for that. But I'd just like to get his comment on that, and I think it was a good point.
All right, thank you very much.
As a case to not pay players. I mean, I don't. That's what we're probably. Don't think players should still get bigger. I'm not a pay-to-play guy, but yeah, make the scholarships worth more, get the families to games. But at the end of the day, that is supposed to be the basis of what college athletics is about. And when I do take a little bit of offense to people just acting like these guys are all a bunch of dumb jocks and schools are just letting them in. And, they've tried to make it as pure as possible. And yeah, not all these guys are rocket scientists, but not everybody on a college campus is a rocket scientist either. And the point should be is let's take these guys. They're going to help us out with our sports, and we're going to make them better people and better equipped to handle.
You would be amazed if you looked at the numbers of the number of the regular student body at any given school, any given major public university, the percentage that do not graduate within 4 or 5 years. It's pretty astonishing.
Go into a freshman class with 100 people in there. Then as you get to junior, you say, wait a minute. Now there's 30 people. I don't see many people I saw my freshman year. That's why the reason the classes get smaller.
Best 9 years of my life, my undergrad.
Hey, thanks for all the phone calls tonight. We really appreciate it. We'll be back, the Friday edition of Sports Talk tomorrow night. Thank you, K-Mac Pro State Man. Thanks to all of you out there. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow night here on Sports Talk.
I might, if Jensen's going, he'll probably split a room with me. It's 89 for double, I keep saying.
You want to share a room with Brent Jensen?
Remember she had like the big.
Is he still doing radio?
I think he's writing for Fox Sports too.
Is he? Is that anything like Fox Sports Gunner?
Fox Sports Reynolds, JR, Fox Sports JR.
Fox Sports Gunner.
On 1400, the 1,000 watt.